Well, I have several Toyota Tundra disaster stories today. One is this engine fire I'm going to tell you about in a minute with the hybrid. The second one is actually the biggest story, I think, and it's a recalled engine, another recalled engine. Someone had a Tundra, had the replacement crate motor installed, and that second engine failed, which is huge news, I think. If this trend begins to blow up where these recalled engines start to fail even faster than the original engines did, boy, Toyota is going to have their hands full. So let's get into this first story. So this story is a 2024 Toyota Tundra hybrid, 13,000 miles, spontaneously caught fire at 4:30 in the morning. It is a hybrid, so there is a chance that maybe the batteries caused a problem, but that hasn't been a common problem in these hybrids. However, they have had fuel line problems. She had it in at the dealer like a week or two before. There were no open recalls on this truck. So in theory, there should not have been a fuel line recall. People say that in the comments. So here's video one. Check this out. This is the beginning of the fire. And this is actually kind of when it all started getting engulfed. But check this out. This is actually awesome. You'll notice there, the entire truck is engulfed in flames, and that horn is still working. Toyota, I think I would take whoever that horn engineer is, move them to your engine debris cleaning process. You got yourselves a winner there. This guy's gonna kill it. And here's a little closer look. You can tell the entire back was completely scorched. She said they had actually just filled the tank up. The truck had been sitting for, I don't know, like 12 hours before this fire happened, so it shouldn't have been hot. I have seen the tanks start to like burp out fuel, and fuel's dripping out of these tanks before. People have posted photos of this in the Tundra groups where the fuel's just dripping out. I don't know if it's getting hot and expanding, and I don't know if the ventilation isn't done properly. Who knows what's going on? Who knows how this started at 4:30 in the morning, but this truck is toast. And here's a picture of the cab. Obviously, once the batteries start burning and the fuel, it's going to go pretty hot. And in response to Valerie's post on the fire, this guy also looks like, I think he had a TRD Pro. Looking at the wheels there, I could be wrong. But he says same issue with his, took out the garage with it. This was on November 15th, but that's crazy. She did say that she's not gonna buy another Tundra, obviously. All right, on to story number two. Hybrids will grenade to 39,000 miles on this hybrid. Now there is a caveat here. He was running a JB4 piggyback tuner on this truck. However, he does say he loves the truck, and once they replace his engine, he's gonna keep the truck. He actually likes it. So there is that. He said he is getting a short block replacement in this hybrid because they don't actually do the recall replacement in the hybrids. They still didn't expand to the recalls, but that doesn't change the fact that these hybrids still fail just like the non-hybrids. But I think this is the biggest story of the day. This is coming in from Tristan up in Canada. He has a 2022 Tundra SR5. He already had the engine replaced with the recall notice. So this is one of the recall crate engines that he got in a non-hybrid. Said he broke down on 40 West Quebec Highway. Smoke in the cabin, strong burning smell, intense knocking noise. What's crazy is he said his original engine lasted 123,000 kilometers. That's about 76,000 miles. And he's driven the new one 10,000 kilometers. So the crate engine lasted 10,000 kilometers, about 6,000 miles. And an oil change was done and it still failed. That's terrible news. I don't care what way you look at it. This is bad news, and I would imagine this is not going to be the last one. So I see a lot of folks in the comments asking me, hey, once the crate engines are installed, this should be good to go, right? No, definitely not. Sometimes the original engines, this is Tundra Roulette, they're lasting longer than the crate engines. And once again, you get these Tundra owners that are, I don't know if they're coping or they're, upset of their decision, or they truly think people are just out to get them. But you have to understand the amount of fake posts. It looks bad when it's your first post on a blown motor. And the guy sends back an image of him riding in the tow truck to kind of prove that, hey, this is another video from me and I'm riding in the tow truck as my Tundra's on the truck. A lot of people will take the time to go into a Facebook group and say, you know what, I want to warn people about this because it caused me a huge hassle in the cold, obviously snowy. He wants to warn people about it. That's my guess. He wants to tell people, hey, this is happening and this is bad. And maybe he didn't want to tell people about, when he got his lift or his tonneau cover or whatever it was. You Tundra guys got to accept the fact that just because it's someone's first post doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. And here's another one in November. Well, it finally happened, 34,000 miles. He loved the truck a lot, but now he's got to get the engine replaced, TRD off-road. And this issue isn't just isolated to Toyota. It's really everyone, Ram, Ford, anyone that has all of these electronic sensors. This guy has a 2026 dash lights up like a Christmas tree, everything. He gets all these codes. Probably has to go take it into the dealer, but under 300 miles on this TRD Pro. This happens in almost every brand. We just have iPhones on wheels at this point, but there's so many computers and sensors in these trucks that anything gets messed up, and boy, they I'm not looking forward to it in my new truck either. And I think I've already done videos on this 2025 that had the 4,000 miles engine broke down. So essentially a 2025 Tundra and 2026s are going to have the same engine that the recall motors are. So when you see these recall engines blowing and you see 2025s blowing, that's the trend we're talking about. And then that really aligns with the recall notice that says, hey, we have main bearing problems. We switched the main bearing, hope that'll work. Toyota's kind of alluding to engineering issues. We'll see how this plays out. And here's another 2025, that TRD Pro that I had in one of my last videos. 19,000 miles, 10 months on the road, blown main bearing. And this is starting to happen. I found a couple of NHTSA complaints I'll show you in a minute, but this guy, Darren O'Brien, said, well, it happened to me this morning about 20 minutes into my drive on the interstate, 37 degrees, so it might be related to the cold temperature. No wind or precipitation. The closest car was a quarter mile away. Bam, like a shotgun blast. No rhyme or reason. The sunroof just exploded the moonroof. He was glad he didn't have his kids in the back seat. 2025 Crew Max. And here's a close-up of that. It really does shatter, and sometimes it's the back sunroof that'll shatter. And here's the crazy part with owners. It seems like they're having to pay out of pocket for this. You'll see this in Update 3. He says, Toyota Corporate says after review by all parties, they determined it was from an outside influence. So Toyota won't cover the $2,800. And this seems to be happening in more than just this guy's car. So let me show you a couple more. So Jose down in the comments said, hey, this just happened to mine. Exact same thing. Another guy in the same comment thread, same thing happened. That front sunroof looks like it just shattered. Happened to him early summer. Toyota corporate and dealership weren't any help. Ended up having to get it turned in on insurance. And so I went spelunking here in the Toyota Tundra NHTSA complaints for 2026 model year. This isn't the 25s and earlier. This is just 2026. Here's the first one on November 12th, 2025. While driving today, the sunroof spontaneously exploded. It exploded outward, which is kind of weird. There were no other cars and trucks nearby. He had never heard anything hit the sunroof before. The truck was 3 weeks old, only had 1,800 miles on it. Next one down, brand new truck, less than a week old, made it 500 miles on a road trip. Yesterday, driving home from work, roughly 25 miles an hour, heard a loud bang like a firearm went off. So the same exact thing. These are on 2026s, keep in mind. These are 2 of the 3 complaints on 2026s, brand new trucks. I'm sure I could find more if I went in the 2025s, but I'm not going to, because I think if you're looking at the latest model year and they're having these problems still, it's probably an issue with something binding with the glass, maybe temperature, who knows, but if you got a sunroof, be mindful of your kids in the backseat if you've got them. Here's another guy that had the same problem November 12th. $2,200 repair out of pocket. He said it took him a total of 4 months to replace the sunroof. That is crazy. He said he might be done with Toyota after this. It's his 4th Toyota. He loves the truck, but the issues are seriously outweighing his enjoyment sometimes. Pretty sad. This is going back to Tristan, the one that had this blown, recalled motor. If I had a Tundra and I got a recalled engine at that point, boy, I don't know what I would do. I think it's really roulette. It really is Tundra roulette. And I know everybody says that. GM's the same way. You look at the 6.2s, the 5.3s have some lifter issues later in life. The 3.0 Duramax has problems. Boy, it feels like everything is really a crapshoot at this point, other than maybe some of the other smaller engines. Ford hasn't had a lot of problems with their 2.7, their 5.0s. Ram's Hurricane and Hemi seem to be doing a little better. So look, if you're looking for a truck, I just think there are better options out there right now. Until Toyota gets their stuff together, I would not trust a recalled engine or a short block rebuild in these trucks. That's just me. Don't like playing roulette with my time or my family or anything else. Thanks for watching. Till next time.